Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is episode 17?
No, 18.
Wow, I can't count.
Nope.
I've never been able to count.
Nope.
It's because public school failed me.
Yes.
I could tell that story, but I don't think I should tell that story. It'd be too long and too painful.
People, if you're listening, vote for more money for teachers.
Yeah, I would highly encourage that. Don't let kids end up like me, unable to count without skip counting. But not able to multiply without skip counting.
I have a calculator on my watch.
I have to go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I can't.
You just did.
Yeah, but I can't just say 4 times 4 is 16. See, I had to skip count it in my head.
Well, that's all anybody does.
That's not true. People memorize their multiplication
I'm trying to make
table.
you feel better.
Well, it's not working because I know the truth. What are you up to, Josh?
What am I up to? I am still friggin' waiting on my copy of Bat Ride War to come in.
Do you know where it is?
It is currently in the U.S. somewhere. They've at least confirmed that it is in the States.
But you don't know which state.
No, they just said USA.
Oh,
that's just great.
That's terrible tracking. Who are you tracking with?
I paid for the lowest amount of tracking and shipping possible because I'm not gonna lie, that was an expensive game.
Well, expensive mostly in the fact that you had to import it at all.
Well, yeah. Plus, the price of games overseas in general to begin with, that game was already $75.
Okay.
But that's what I'm waiting on.
Remind me never to use your shipping. Got it.
Yes, never use the cheapest shipping. If you can, splurge a little bit. You'll thank yourself later.
In any case, why don't we talk about stuff we're going to talk about?
Oh yeah, we have topics.
Yeah.
There's a show to do.
Quite a number of these things are gaming related, actually. For one thing, Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns is having a massive release delay. Well, pretty extensive release delay anyway.
Whereas mine is not video game related, it is very nerd related. We got the confirmation just this past weekend that the end of this year will be the last we will see Matt Smith portraying the Doctor on Doctor Who.
And together we're kind of talking about pre-E3 related stuff, and most of it so far isn't all that great. At least the stuff that we're going to be covering, all the different major companies, there's a bunch of stuff that they're doing wrong, and we're going to talk about it.
Oh, you better believe we're going to talk about it.
As a follow-up to last week, I really wanted to thank you guys very much for your support in the voting for the People's Nerd for King of the Nerds Season 2. I don't really know where that's going to take us, but I did want to let you know that I really appreciate you guys putting up with me, putting up with all the advertising for more than a week, and, it's not something, I know it's not something you guys want to see on a constant basis, and thankfully I don't have to do that anymore.
And
But,
in addition to that, I was able to see on Twitter and Facebook all of the nice, kind messages you guys left, about what the kind of representation you guys want out there for nerds, and it's nice to see that there's people out there that want that kind of more... Well, I want to say more positive, but definitely less negative portrayal of what a nerd is out there.
Well, also someone who can represent just about everybody. Maybe not every single last little person, because obviously not one person is going to be able to speak for everybody, but I hope that whoever it is that TBS does end up choosing, it's somebody that a good majority of people can identify with and say, yeah, that person represents me. So, I guess we'll find out sometime in the near future what ends up happening.
Well, only time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, we're going to get right into the first topic relating to, well, look who it is again. It's Square.
Well, yeah, and of course Final Fantasy being my passion, either love it or hate it sort of a situation.
You're leaning more towards hate it lately, let's be honest.
As of late, sure. As of earlier, loved to pieces. But here we are, back talking about Lightning Returns again. And we talked about it the first time they dropped the trailer. So now they've dropped another trailer, and they're announcing that there's a pretty hefty delay in the release of this game. It was originally supposed to come out in September of this year, and now it's not coming out until February 11th, 2014. That is almost half a year away. That's at least 5 months difference. You know.
Now, have they cited any reason as to why the delay happened?
No, but usually delays mean that your game sucks and you're trying to fix it, but more often than not, it really means that stuff falls through the cracks.
Now, refresh my memory. Isn't this the kind of stuff that happened when 13 was originally released?
Oh, yeah. 13 originally had massive delays, too. In fact, 13 was originally supposed to come out on the PlayStation 2, not the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
But then it got pushed back.
Then it got pushed back several times. It went through several hands as far as development is concerned. Nobody knew what they wanted to do, and only by the tail end of video game production, when it was only a few months away from being released, did they finally say, hey, maybe we better figure out what our game is about. Like, I'm not over-exaggerating, that's what happened.
Right, of course. Yeah, you say as much in your coverage on that with your videos, correct?
Yeah, I think I've said one sentence briefly about that in the first one, and actually, the next Final Fantasy XIII video that I'm dropping is finally going to get into story aspects, and thus you will see exactly what it is I'm talking about when I say they had no idea what direction they were taking this game in. It's really bad.
Well, as far as that goes, not knowing what direction you're going in, I watched this trailer just earlier today for Lightning Returns, and I don't know that I can
it's
be
specifically their E3 trailer.
Their E3 trailer, and I don't know that I can be any more confused out of what this game wants to be.
Well, it's an argument that I've also made before on other social media platforms, and maybe I'll go into it in future videos too, in that Final Fantasy XIII didn't know what it was. Final Fantasy XIII-2 basically tried to fix it, but the only way to fix 13 is basically doing exactly what they did, retconning stuff, and then time travel to fix the fact that, oh, all this stuff in the past, oh, you can do whatever you want with it now because it all sucked to begin with. Oh, and there's a future that you can play around with too. So, it's almost an entirely different game and an entirely different genre. I mean, the battle system is the same, but aside from that,
it's an entirely different game altogether.
It's an entirely different game. So then Lightning Returns shows up, right?
Right.
And she's like, oh, well, it's the apocalypse. We've only got 13 days. Oh, here I am in this little town, and I'm running around, and I'm being a badass, and look at me go. And I'm just kind of like, why is any of this happening? Why is lightning so friggin' important? Because in the grand scheme of things, especially when it relates to the original core game, 13, she's not important. She's really not. I just...
If anything, Vanille was more important.
Yeah, Vanille and Fang were infinitely more important, even though they were some of the more irritating characters in the whole game.
Now, hear me out on this. I know you're not the biggest fan of 7, but hear me out on this. I remember
it's
back
not like I dislike 7, it's just not my favorite.
I know it's not your favorite, that's what I'm saying, but
yeah.
Hear me out on at least this. Back in 97, when it came out, and they were releasing commercials on TV for you to go out and purchase this game. I remember watching those as a kid and being able to clearly tell, oh, that's a good guy, that thing falling from the sky is probably a bad thing, and this guy with the huge sword and the silver hair, he's probably the bad guy. I could tell what the story was. It didn't give away everything, but at least made everything clear and made me want to purchase. This, I can't tell what's what. Who's a good guy, who's a bad guy.
Well, that's the thing about the ambiguity of one, character design, because Tetsuya Nomura, come on, man, just give somebody a different face, please.
Right.
Oh, and motivation, I guess? I'm not really sure what word I'm looking for, because they all kind of act the same.
Uh-huh.
If you understand what I mean by that.
They all have this sort of confused, I'm doing a thing, it's important, what are you doing?
They're all doing a thing that is incredibly important to that particular person. It just so happens that they are important to them in the opposite way that they're important to the other person, and I don't know why. So people are fighting just because, yes.
Sulfur X, X equals not Y. That's their motivation in a nutshell. And then, to top that off with the confusing aspects of this trailer, Snow had a weapon. What was that?
Yeah, whatever happened to using your fists and equipping different coats to give you super fist powers?
Yeah, super awesome trench coat.
And yet, for some reason, Snow apparently exists. What did he say? Did he say it was 500 years later?
No, that was another character who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, usually I have a pretty sharp ear for this. That was Jason Marsden voicing yet another video game character, but the guy's got his huge repertoire, so you just let that slide. Point being, I can't even tell. Yeah, based off that line, 500 years later, like what time period does this take place in?
Because at this point, what in God's name does this game have to do with Final Fantasy XIII anymore? You just see a couple of familiar faces, and that's what makes it about Final Fantasy XIII? Is it not about Cocoon anymore? Is it not about Grand Pulse anymore? Is it not about...
This is some other place, right?
Well, like, that's the thing. I feel like this game series is so ADHD. It has no idea what it wants to be.
I don't even think it's that. I honestly believe to say it's ADHD is a compliment. I believe that this series now is just flat out confused. It is nothing more than pure confusion.
And of course we've discussed this part before too, that if they didn't know what to do with it anymore, I know they so very badly wanted to, it's a very Japanese sort of mentality where you're like, no, we have to save the honor of this franchise. Why? Why not just stop there? And if you want to save the honor of the franchise, move on to the next Final Fantasy.
Two things come to mind when you say that.
Move on to the next Final Fantasy, please.
Two things come to mind when you say that. One, I guess it had to have been brought up before, that is this really the unlucky 13? Is that what's going on here? That every single thing that has the 13 number on there for this franchise just can't do? It can't succeed. It has no chance. Maybe even cursed, if you want to say that.
That's what it feels like.
And two, and I find it funny that I'm making this parallel. You might see where I'm going with this. You had shown me last week this episode of Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay, and you showed me this episode where these two restaurateurs, and I think it was Arizona or something like that, were so convinced that everything that they were doing was right.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't listen to rhyme or reason as to, hey, this is the obvious reason why nobody likes your food. This is why nobody wants to come back here.
And by the way, these people are very much in the news constantly. Like, if you want to look up Amy's Baking Company and Kitchen Nightmares combined, go search that. You will be floored at what you find. But yes.
But you see what I'm saying, though? It's that it seems that Square has that same mentality about, no, we know what Final Fantasy is. No, you're just wrong. You're just hating on us. No, we know how to fix this. We know what ingredients go together to make a good game.
Obviously, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
Because, like, there's a sort of the same thing in that episode where the woman who was the chef is going, well, it's like he's never heard of any sort of a flavor palette at all whatsoever, because she's just, like, combining stupid things.
Right.
And that's kind of what is happening with Final Fantasy XIII, and developers at Square Enix have specifically said, oh, well, we're putting in things here that we don't think that it has to look like a Final Fantasy to be a Final Fantasy. Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Otherwise, it's not a Final Fantasy. It's some other game.
That's like me saying...
And then, if you had titled it some other game, maybe I would have just been like, here's your problem, though. You put Final Fantasy on the title.
Exactly. It's the same thing as some of the complaints I brought up about friggin' Kamen Rider Foze. When you take away and add too much, that it creates that imbalance. You take away too much of what makes it recognizable, and you try to add in all this new crap, basically, then you don't have a product that resembles the original at all.
That's sort of a point I was trying to make in my original Final Fantasy XIII video, in that, take, for example, musical cues, of which there are very, very few recognizable. There's no prelude. There's no, what else did I say wasn't there? No victory fanfare, for example. Just those two things. And there's no Final Fantasy theme.
Right.
So instead of the victory fanfare, we get some unrecognizable thing, and it's like, okay, so where's Final Fantasy?
Right.
It's not. It just isn't.
It comes across to me like, okay, hey, guess what? I'm gonna remake Batman. I got the license to remake Batman. All right, I'm gonna remake Batman. First things first, no mask. He's not gonna wear a mask, and he's gonna wear orange. He's gonna have an orange costume and like a tie.
Okay, so what part of him is a bat?
What? No, you don't understand. He doesn't have to have a bat on his costume to be Batman.
Well, then what makes him a Batman?
What? See, that's what I'm saying. That's what they're doing with this franchise. Like, no. You don't understand. You don't get to call it that.
I am so... I don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
We're talking about, 5-6 months this is pushed back, right?
Yeah, at least 5 months.
Logically speaking, what does this point to as far as the development goes? Is it that we're missing story? Is it that we're missing levels, towns, what?
There's at least a town.
One town.
I have thus far seen a total of 1 town. I mean, I don't know how many towns you could possibly get through anyway, because she apparently only has 13 days to do whatever the hell she's doing.
Yeah, 13 days to capture...
I'm so dramatic. There's only 13 days left. And they all talk like that. They all speak like that. Isn't anybody lighthearted?
They speak the way the young adult horror section at Target sounds in my mind when I look at the titles.
I know what you are. Say it. Snow. I don't want it. I don't want it. And is this what we're getting at E3?
I don't know.
Now, those of you who perhaps follow me on Tumblr have seen, like, some really bad, probably not even legit photo of a thing that looks like it might involve Kingdom Hearts 3 and a possible Final Fantasy 15. It wasn't.
I call a hoax, good ma'am.
I do too, which is why I questioned it with source. Otherwise,
because you look at this picture and you've got the logos for Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, and specifically 15 and A Realm Reborn being 14, right?
Yes.
Only one of those is legit.
Yeah.
And that would be Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
These other two, though, like, for my money, I can't see the 3 in Kingdom Hearts. Like, I honestly think you're trying to convince yourself that you see a 3 on that logo.
Well, the 15 is definitely there on that logo, and even then I can't see the whole logo either. So, I don't know. I don't. I know that Square Enix is talking all this hype about, oh, look at all these other cool things we have coming up. I don't even know if you still have that sitting
I can
around.
bring it up in 2 seconds right here. Now, we look here at the list of things that E3 is going to be providing as far as Square Enix bringing, these things to E3.
The things that Square Enix is providing at E3.
Right. And we
more
see...
A Realm Reborn, Thief...
Murdered, Soul Suspect, Lightning Returns, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix, Deus Ex, the 10 and 10.2 remasters.
Nobody cares.
And then a bunch of mobile versions of those games. No mention...
No, a bunch of mobile versions of other things. It's a completely different Deus Ex. It's a completely different Deus Ex. And whatever that mini ninja thing is. I don't even care. I don't care.
At this point, going either way at E3, there's nothing to look forward to, I would almost say.
As far as Square Enix is concerned.
As far as Square Enix is concerned, because this already looks and feels like a money pit. This 13 Lightning Returns. You're pouring money into it. You're going to eventually have to pour in even more promotion to try and convince anybody that this is a legit attempt at making up for the failures of the first two. And then this date pushback, nothing about this says buy me.
No, nothing. I barely got any gameplay footage out of that trailer, to be honest with you, and it didn't look like it revealed anything else about the gameplay that the previous trailer didn't already show me. All I got was more brooding. There was nothing further impressive about that trailer, and it told me nothing more about the story I am to expect from it. You know what? I'm done. I'm done. No. I'm out. Screw this. We'll talk more E3 failures later.
But as far as Square is concerned, you're done for the night.
I'm done with this kid.
You're done with this kid, alright. Well, speaking of being done with this kid, king of the segues right here. There's been an announcement from BBC officially, and fans are reacting and have been reacting, that Matt Smith, who is the current incarnation of the Doctor on the now widely popular Doctor Who, will be leaving at the end of the year. He will be ending his run as the 11th Doctor, presumably right after the Christmas special, where we'll see him have a regeneration, and then we'll get a new Doctor. This is a little different for me, because having watched as far as I have, this will be the first regeneration that I'm actually there to, I guess you'd say, live witness. Because every other regeneration up until this point, you know, I'm watching it after the fact. You know, it's already history, so to speak. But this one I'm actually here for. And yeah, a lot of fans are sad because, for what it's worth, you have to give credit where credit is due. Smith's run as the Doctor reached out further than any other portrayal, in that, whereas, say, the Fourth Doctor was able to be on the air for a very long amount of time, and then syndication on PBS, you know, people became aware of the show that way. Here, in modern times, or I guess, yeah, I'd phrase it that way, Doctor Who has the highest viewing rate that it's ever had in its history. The show reaches out to 77 million fans, and 77 million. And that's straight from the BBC. I'm not making up a number here. You know, you can go to the website and read it there. He was able to, Matt Smith was able to receive a National Television Award for Most Popular Male Drama. That is something that had never happened before.
Most popular male drama?
Male in a drama.
Okay.
Yes. And for his performance. And, yeah, a lot of people, this was their first Doctor. You know, granted, you know, a lot of people go on to have other favorites, you know, 9, 6, whoever. But...
Yes, let's just pick numbers.
Well, no, 2, in specific.
7.
Well, if you want, but each has their specific thing to them. But yeah, it's a little sad to see him go.
Would you say that that now risks a major dip in ratings with a fan favorite now saying he's going to be leaving?
Well, yes and no. Actually, I'd lean more towards no, because you look at it this way. Immediately, it creates two responses. The first response being, oh man, that sucks. Now I gotta, you know, either catch up on stuff I haven't watched from him, or I have to watch all the way through the end, and he doesn't have that much more to go. He's got the 50th anniversary, maybe an episode or two, and then the Christmas special, and that's it. And then the second thing it comes up with is, well, who's gonna play the Doctor next? Because that is one of the most sought-after roles in television right now. You know, once an actor finishes his run as the Doctor, BBC casting goes on this super... Well, I mean, less so now, you know, with the advents of Twitter and, you know, Tumblr and things like that, but they're on the hunt for this guy who's got to live up to this standard in people's minds, this iconic character, and then bring their own interpretation to the table. I mean, yes, a lot of that has to do with the writing, but a lot of it still has to do with the actor. You put yourself into this role. And that's going to be hard to, at least as far as popularity, it's going to be a tough act to follow. Usually with the last couple of years, specifically with, say, Christopher Eccleston giving way to David Tennant, and then David Tennant giving over to Matt Smith, you'll hear rumors for a couple of months, but really the most solid rumors, i.e. the rumors that end up being, oh, it was him, don't show up for maybe a few days, max a week or two before they actually reveal it in the episode. So, yeah, they keep a tight lid on this because, yeah, you don't want people to get, the spoilers that they end up getting.
Well, on top of that, wouldn't you also say that if people heard about it too far ahead of time, they'd jump to their own conclusions about what they think he's going to become, and then already just stop before they even get the chance to figure out whether or not they actually like the change?
This comes back to something that actually still bugs me. And of course, having to deal with Matt Smith's run was the departure of his last two companions, specifically the Pawns, Amy and Rory, played by Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill. I don't know what gave them the idea to do this, but they announced months ahead of time, not just that they were leaving. That was one thing. It was cool enough to be like, okay, yeah, it's going to be sad to see him go, but I'll watch in and see what happens anyway. But then, on top of that, not only do you tell us that they're leaving, you told us exactly how it was going to happen. So that when the episode aired, I mean, granted, yeah, I still got a little emotional, but it wasn't nearly as much of the punch when I knew exactly what was going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And by this point, I don't think it's too much spoilers. If I am spoiling, sorry. I don't think it was spoilers because the BBC freaking told you ahead of time that they were going to get taken out by the Weeping Angels. And once you even mention that, it's like, well, dang, there's no point in me watching the episode. I know at the end they're going to get sent back in time.
Yeah.
So that just took all of the drama out of that, all of the build-up. It doesn't matter how positive it looks at the end of the episode, I know they're still going to get taken out.
And
So
would you say the BBC has actually been kind of bad at their publicity for the series, perhaps in the past 1 to 2 seasons?
Maybe, maybe not. Well, as far as keeping secrets on plot points, yes, they've been bad. As far as promoting the show, yeah, they've been doing an amazing job. There's no argument about that. But there was that. There was also people finding out about John Hurt's character ahead of time, that he would be an incarnation of the Doctor, and people knew this, at least a month in advance. And then on top of that, there was the accidental release of the current season's Part 2 disc, which had the season finale that just aired this past month. It got out and was released to people on, I think it was Amazon, days in advance. So people knew for days how the season ended before everybody else got to watch it on broadcast TV. That's a pretty big screw-up.
It's interesting that they were that prepared with a DVD before it even aired.
Well, it just goes to show, they filmed this stuff in advance. And then, you've got to go through post-production, you've got to go through all of the promotion to get it done. And in a lot of cases, these shows are done months in advance. That's just the way of television. The problem was, who was the Yahoo who hit send and let this get out there? That, I would hope somebody got fired for that.
Well, it could be something more like how Walmart has gotten in trouble for selling video games before street release date.
Yes.
It might not actually be the distributor's fault, it might be the store's fault, it could be Amazon's fault that it got posted on the site. Though usually, if it's Amazon's fault, they would find out about it real fast and then they would tear it down. That's happened with me and purchases that people have sent my way before too. Like, somebody sent my way, for some really weird reason, the platinum version of all of Evangelion is on sale for like $12, and I was like, I want that right now, and so I ordered it, and then the next day Amazon was like, oh, sorry about that was wrong, we had to cancel your order, and I was like, dang it.
Well, to the flip side of that, I remember back in the day when Samurai 7 was first getting released by Funimation, one of my favorite series, and for some reason Walmart was selling the DVDs, and I was like, well, okay, fine. That usually I pick them up at Best Buy or at a convention, but whatever. And for some strange reason, it was a new release. It was the latest release. I think it was like the fourth one, just when it came out. Somebody stuck it in the $5 bin. And not only did they stick it in the $5 bin, they marked it $5 with the little sticker. And I was like, I know this is a mistake, but I'm not going to just let it sit there. So I took it up to the front, and I got that volume for $5.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks, Walmart. But
pretty good.
Pretty good. But yeah, there's there will be speculation. There's already been a ton of speculation. You know, how's he going to go out?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what will be the best fitting way to let him go? And it's an interesting thing when you think about the character of the Doctor, in that in its original inception, in their brilliance, they've decided that this character, when we need a new actor, we come up with this concept of regeneration. That way, you're losing the character, but you're not losing the character. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you have
Yes, I realize this is a concept that's 50 years old, yes.
But I can't... How do I say it? It's brilliant. Because it's so simple. That, you know, you get to say, oh, he's just regenerating, and that's how we get a new actor in.
You think that it's brilliant that they had to be really super cheap and Deus Ex Machina to get past having a really old man not be able to act as a character 50 years ago.
Yeah, but the thing is, back then they could get away with it, and it still holds up.
No, I would dare say that back then it was like, oh wow, you guys really had no other earthly idea what to do anymore, and you were too terribly scared to let go of this series, weren't you?
Yeah, say what you want, it still works.
It ended up working. I don't necessarily know that I agree with it.
The problem with this is, since he's the 11th, for as far as the lore is concerned, the Time Lords, or the Doctor in specific, only have 12 regenerations leading to 13 different forms, and this is already 11. So when you look at it that way, the show does have a shelf life.
You know they've already created numerous Deus Ex Machinas. You're gonna really sit here and look me in the eye, and you're gonna tell me that once they get down to the 13th can't regenerate anymore, that they're gonna give up right there, and they're not gonna find some other loophole in order to continue the series past 50 years.
To be honest,
60 years.
To be honest, I would pray that they don't. Because I wouldn't want to see it go on.
Wow, that's big of you.
Well, because after a while you watch this stuff and you realize that stuff is supposed to have its season. You know, it had its run from the 60s up to the 80s. Then there was the drop-off in the 90s, and then, you know, here in the last couple of years, we've had the resurgence with the 9th Doctor to now. And I think certain stories need breaks. Certain stories, yes, do need to be retold, but at the same time, you need time for syndication. You need time for people to get to know it without it being on the air, because that's what develops this core audience. You've seen
like
it
Star
with
Trek.
Like you've seen it with Star Trek. I've seen it with Kamen Rider. When there's that lull, and there's nothing new on TV, it is up to the fans. It is up to the fans to keep this thing alive, and that's what brings it back. The studios see, hey, there are still people buying these old action figures. There's still people going after these old episodes. Let's give them what they want after a couple of years. And it's kind of the way you said about how Spider-Man, it was too quick that we got the new...
Same way I felt about Full Metal Alchemist.
Well,
it was too quick.
It was too quick. And that's kind of the thing. That's why you need some time for it to regenerate, so to speak, to use that term.
I could see on your face you really didn't mean for it to go in that direction. But...
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying. There needs to be time for the story to develop another generation of fans. And this is the current generation, and it will continue to be the current generation until I would hope
until there's another generation.
Well, until there's a
no
drop off of episodes, and I would hope that they actually stop with the 13th and let the series be.
What if the 12th or the 13th decides to be Doctor for Life? Then it could go on for 30 more years under one guy.
Well, see, that's the thing. Yes, because of the nature of the character, you could potentially do that. But at the same time, it's the same thing as what happened to Adam West. It's the same thing that happened to Christopher Reeve. There becomes this stigma that when you stick with a role too long, you can't escape it.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
And then you get all this notoriety for, that's all you do. I mean, think of it this way. Specifically with Adam West, it has taken him only the last 10 years to be able to escape the Batman role and be known for other things.
Like
do
being
voices
Adam West in
Family Guy. Which, if Seth MacFarlane did one thing right for him, it's that he never directly references on that show that he was ever Batman.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there may be the slightest thing where Mayor West's house kind of looks like the original Wayne Manor.
Well, he's about as hokey as 1960s delivery Adam West.
But you see what I'm saying? He couldn't escape it. Christopher Reeve couldn't escape being Superman.
I just read this article on Cracked, written specifically by Mara Wilson, talking about being a child actress and just things about it that are really bad about being raised as a child in the movie industry. And one of the things she states is that if there's no escaping it, she will be forever known as this little girl who is in Mrs. Doubtfire and A Simple Wish and Matilda. Anywhere she goes, there's not going to be anybody who knows her for anything else.
Specifically, Will Smith had given an interview on the Graham Norton show saying that when they were coming up with the concept for Fresh Prince, he was sitting down with Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton. And when they were coming up with the character names, Alfonso told him, when you write these characters, know that when you name these characters, that's what people on the street are going to call you for the rest of your life. You should name your character Will Smith. And to this day, worldwide star, people see him, hey Will. People see Alfonso Ribeiro, hey Carlton. That's just how it is. So no, I don't think they would cast somebody for life, but at the least, it's some big shoes to fill. Say what you want about the writing on the episodes, but I love his portrayal. I will miss him. And, we'll just see how they take him out.
Alright then. So be it.
So be it. And now...
Drum roll? Or does this even warrant a drum roll?
No, this more or less warrants a wah, wah, wah. We're gonna come to you right now with our pre-E3, what I'm calling fail coverage.
I don't even know if we can call this coverage. I mean, and of course we're specifically going for the not-so-great there are some very interesting things that I have read about coming up, being introduced at a E3 shortly.
But let's be real here, a lot of this stuff is very depressing to hear.
Well, yeah, considering we're just about to come up on a new console generation. Right. This would be the time where you'd think, oh man, I am so excited about this machine. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Day one launch. I do not feel that way about either the PS4 or the Xbox One.
I feel like I will be saving a lot of money.
Just because, I still don't have a Wii U, but I can see myself purchasing a Wii U in the future.
Eventually.
In fact, an article that you had just pulled up was regarding, they mentioned there would be new Smash Brothers, right?
Next week we're gonna be seeing some footage from it.
Okay, well, see, there's reason right there. New Smash. In fact, I know one particular friend we were talking to, I think this past week, who was like, I'm not gonna buy a Wii U until there's Smash Brothers on it, and he starts listing off all these things. Well, here you go, Mark.
Right. Call him out on air.
Right here, Mark. Smash Brothers. I know it's no Bayonetta, Okay, I know it's no more heroes, but here's one of your things, Smash Brothers. All right, but
who do you want to go with here? Because we've got three companies to cover here. We've got Microsoft with the Xbox One.
Oh, why don't we just start with the Xbox One?
Okay,
let's not even kid ourselves.
Right into the fire here.
Yeah, specifically Kotaku's got this image of the Xbox One on fire.
Long story short, Microsoft, you done goofed.
Because here's Microsoft like, oh man, nobody likes our product. I mean, it's not even out yet, and they don't like it. What can we do? Well, we didn't give them much information when we gave them the big reveal. Let's give them some information. Yeah, they'll like that. Too bad they give really, really bad information.
And not bad as in it doesn't tell us anything. Bad as in it tells us everything we don't want to hear.
For example, the Xbox One must connect to the internet once every 24 hours in order for you to play games. You have to be connected to the internet at least once a day. There have been other games for the PC. There was a time several years ago where you could not play games that you purchased through Steam without being connected to Steam on the internet, and that was really bad. That
really dumb.
Yeah, it was really bad. That is, for the most part, no longer the case unless the company has said, hey, you can't play our game unless you're online. And usually that would only be if you need to play with other people. No, the console has got to connect to the internet once every 24 hours. Why? Why? What if there's what if there is an internet outage?
Yeah, what if there's a storm?
And what if there's an internet outage and I'm like, well, at least I got my video game console. Nope.
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 Not gonna happen.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
All right.
Wouldn't make sense.
So also, thank you for clarifying, Microsoft, that we can, in fact, purchase used games. But
wait, there's a stipulation.
It sure is. One, it'll only be sold at participating retailers. That probably means GameStop. And it's only if publishers are going to allow it. Only if the publisher of said title lets you sell used copies of that game. Now, why would a publisher do that? Publishers don't make money off of used games. Publishers don't even like the resale business.
Well, this is basically the middle finger to the resale business.
This is a stab in the heart of retail business. I would assume that even the heartless, soulless GameStop would not enjoy this news.
And then on top of that, there's the whole thing about restrictions on playing games on other people's systems.
They mentioned before that you will be able to give and loan your games away. In some cases, you can digitally loan them out, I believe. But there are certain restrictions, and it won't even be available right away.
And then even then, I believe I'm reading here that you can only do this. You can create what's known as a family, and then you can only do it with 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, maybe you don't know that many people, and that's not a big problem, but just to begin with, the fact that there's a cap on it at all, like, what happened to the good old days of, I have this game, I'm going over to a friend's house. I will bring over game and play game at said friend's house. Done deal.
Nope, you gotta take your whole console. That's not necessarily a problem if you have, say, a GameCube, because it has that nice little handle and it's a tiny little cube.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a big deal. But a friggin' Xbox, which has always been known to be huge like Xbox, that's not so cool. And you can apparently only give or loan your game a total of once, but the information is still rather ambiguous. Like, can you give it to this person, this one person, and then that person will be like, I'm done with the game now, I'm gonna give it to my other friend, and that person's like,
You mean a loophole, basically.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what that is. So those are the majorly bad things, but then there's lame updates that are just, they're not bad, they're just, who cares? Like, we thought that the Kinect would have to always be on, but Microsoft says you can turn it off. Well, there's a concept that's revolutionary, right? Turning something off?
Yeah,
right.
right.
Like, that's news, right?
Well, you want to talk about revolutionary or even innovative.
I'd rather not.
Oh, but we're going there.
Oh, why?
So, just kind of to segue for a second, that's Xbox One. Nintendo.
So, okay,
Nintendo. Reggie.
Reggie. My main man, Reginator. Look, dude, bro. Okay. I know you're trying to communicate to everybody through your nice little Nintendo news video update that you're trying to make us understand that, okay, you're not going to have a press conference at E3 like the other two major companies will, and you're trying to sell it to me as though this is a good thing. In fact, you yourself even used the word innovative. No, Reggie. No. You are incorrect, sir. You use that word so much. I do not think it means what you think it means. Like, it's not innovative. It will not revolutionize the way I play video games. Okay, you did mention one cool thing in there where apparently Best Buy during the course of E3 is going to have demos of Wii U games that have not been announced yet. And he's like, no, we're not doing an E3 press conference. Here's all the great, innovative things that we're doing, which is why you are a Nintendo fan to begin with, because of just how innovative we are. Like, I'm really not over-exaggerating what he's saying.
If I'm not misunderstanding this, Reggie, spokesperson for Nintendo, who makes video games.
Well, he doesn't make video games.
Nintendo, who makes video games.
Yeah.
Tells people that instead of going to E3 and doing a press conference, they will not be doing a press conference, but instead have things to do at Best Buy. So
they will be there. They will be at E3. They just won't be announcing things in the super spectacular, awesome ways that we all wait for a press conference every year. We love the press conferences.
Let me just put it to you this way. Dude thinks it's smart to tell people who play video games to leave their house to find out something about video games.
Well, no, it's not even that, because then
something that forces me to get up off the couch.
No, actually, he's telling you the opposite of that. He's saying, oh, don't worry, you don't have to come out to E3 or even watch our E3 press conference, because we don't have one. Instead, you can either go to Best Buy, or you can go to all the other places online that you already go to for Nintendo news, such as Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, where on the 11th we will announce stuff, just like we do all the time on those mediums.
So lazy.
Yeah, it's super lazy. I'm sorry. No, there is nothing
lazy isn't innovative
about that.
That is like, okay,
no, Reginator, you are incorrect, sir.
Alright, I have an establishment. I sell food. No shirt, no shoes, no service. If you come in with no shirt and no shoes and call it innovative, I will tell you to get out. Because that's not innovative, that's just stupid. Can you read, sir?
Does it say innovative?
No. No, it doesn't.
No, please leave.
And then, for what it's worth, it's not so bad, but it's still kind of, where was the brain in this? Sony, which will be having an E3 conference, has put out this little press release about they will allow fans to come into this press conference, to actually be there in it. The catch is they're only allowing 40 people.
And it's a matter of
first come, first serve.
Meaning mob run.
Meaning that on the morning of the 10th of June, this Monday, out right there at E3, all hell will break loose for people trying to get these seats.
It says time, get there no later than 4 p.m.
But let's be real, who's gonna wait till 4 p.m. to get there?
The 40 people will fill up within the first 30 seconds. Let's not be stupid. They will fight each other for it. I've seen people get shot over video games, okay? That's all I'm saying.
People get shot over video games. People get stabbed for seats at Comic-Con. For seats. With a pencil.
Seats with a pencil?
No, people get stabbed with a pencil for seats.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, that happened last Comic-Con a year or two ago.
It did?
Yeah, somebody stabbed somebody in the eye with a pencil because they wanted a seat for, like, one of the Marvel panels or something like that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that was a thing.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy. That is the kind of people that will either have already rummaged through their closet, find their sleeping bag, find their flashlight, make a quick run to 7-Eleven, pick up some Slim Jims and some Mountain Dew, and then head out there right now to be slot number 1.
Like, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, did they really not have some other better way of saying, of picking 40 people? Like, hey, if you complete this scavenger hunt and bring back the proper results, or say, hey, check your bags that we give you at the door, or your program guide. If you have the special marked program guide, then come on over and...
Nope.
No?
Fight to the death.
That's what I'm hearing right now, is that PS4 conference is fight to the death.
Hunger Games.
I'm not terribly hungry for Sony.
No?
No.
So you're saying you're not hungry for Sony, you're not hungry for the Reginator, and you're not hungry for Microsoft.
Nor am I hungry for Square Enix. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. I do not hunger for this E3 almost at all whatsoever, except, woo, Smash Brothers! Yeah!
But even then, that only makes me feel so much better.
What, the fact that it's more of the same game that we've seen for several console generations?
Yeah, it's like, hey, sorry I, kicked you off your bike, stole it, set it on fire, and then just threw that flaming bike into a building, and then that building caught fire, and then you got arrested for arson. But here's a Snickers.
What?
It's all of this massive stuff that I really don't want happening, but then there's this little bit of payoff.
Well, you don't have to go and buy all the other things, just buy the one thing that matters. And then, with your purchasing power, you will determine... No, you won't.
No, it won't.
No,
Don't sit there and lie to me.
Because Bill Gates will just throw his money into whatever it is he wants to force to succeed anyway.
Yeah.
That is, after all, how the 360 managed to survive. Managed to get made, I should say.
Managed to get made. That would be more accurate.
That is more accurate.
Well,
I'm gonna wait for E3 and hopefully be pleasantly surprised by something. Something.
So hopefully we'll have some positive things to talk about on next week's show.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't hold out hope. I don't even... Whatever.
Are you alright?
No.
You feeling pretty bad about E3?
Yeah.
You want to go get some ice cream?
Yeah, I want to go get some ice cream.
Alright, we'll go get some ice cream.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna go get ice cream.
Okay, well, just remember, until next week, you can follow us on Twitter, and I'm at MarsGirlProd.
Oh, wow, you're depressed. And I'm at Josh Knight First.
So we'll see you next week!
On another episode of Beyond the Black Rims.
Thanks for listening, you guys. Take care.
See you next time.